Welcome back to the Basement Integrity Podcast by IcyReno. I have to say, looking around the studio today, the vibe feels a bit, well, it feels momentous.
Oh, it definitely should. We are hitting a major milestone today.
We really are. This is officially episode 50. 50 deep dives into the nitty-gritty of structural health, waterproofing, keeping homes standing tall. It's wild to think about how many layers of concrete and soil we've peeled back since we started.
It is wild. Since our team began as a trusted contractor back in 2009, the core philosophy at IcyReno has always been that an educated homeowner is our best customer. We aren't just here to dig holes. We want to explain why the hole needs digging.
Right.
And hitting 50 of these deep dives just proves that you guys, the listeners, actually care about the science beneath your feet.
You really do. And for everyone listening, whether you've been with us since the early days or you're just tuning in to the IcyReno family today, thank you.
Yeah, a huge thank you.
Now let's pivot to the content because we have a fascinating, almost paradoxical topic today. Our theme for today's deep dive is foundation facts every homeowner must know.
Paradoxical is the perfect word for it, honestly.
Right. Because if you caught our last deep dive, the science behind wet basements, we spent all that time hammering home the importance of keeping water out.
Hydrostatic pressure, ceiling cracks, the golden rule.
Exactly. Keep the water out at all costs. But today, looking at our source materials, we are focusing specifically on foundation watering, as in deliberately putting water into the ground near your house.
I can practically hear the collective gasp from everyone listening. Like, wait, didn't you guys just tell me water is the enemy?
It sounds like madness.
Yeah.
We spent our careers installing weeping tiles and sump pumps to get rid of water, and now we're saying, hey, go break out the garden hose.
I know.
So let's unpack this right now. Is this actually a legitimate structural strategy, or is this just an old wives' tale?
It is absolutely legitimate. But it's nuanced. It's not about washing the foundation. It's about soil mechanics, specifically managing the active zone of the soil.
The active zone. Okay, that sounds technical. Let's break that down.
So the dirt your house sits on isn't inert. It's a living, reacting material. When we look at the data for the areas we service, we see a lot of clay-rich soils. And clay is expansive. It has high plasticity.
Which means it changes shape based on how much moisture is in it.
Precisely. Think of the soil at a microscopic level. Clay particles are like little plates. When water gets in there, they push apart. That's expansion. When the water evaporates, they pull together. That's shrinkage.
And that shrinkage is where the real danger is, right? Because, I was looking at the prep notes, and it mentioned differential settlement.
Yes, that is the key term, differential settlement. If the soil shrank evenly everywhere all at once, the whole house would just lower slightly.
Which wouldn't be great, but...
Right, not a disaster. But soil doesn't dry evenly. The south side of your house might bake in the sun and shrink rapidly, while the north side stays damp.
So the south corner drops, the north corner stays put, and suddenly your house is trying to twist.
Exactly. The concrete footing experiences sheer force it wasn't built for. That's when you get those stair-step cracks in the brickwork, or you see drywall tearing inside. The whole goal of foundation watering is to maintain a consistent moisture level. Engineers call it field capacity.
Field capacity. Got it.
Huh.
So we aren't watering the foundation wall. We're watering the soil supporting the foundation.
Correct. We are trying to keep the soil from pulling away from the wall because when it pulls away, it leaves a gap.
Oh, and then when it rains.
Exactly. The next time it rains heavily, that gap acts like a trench, funneling surface water straight down to your footing, which ironically causes the wet basements we talked about last time.
Wow, it's a vicious cycle.
Yeah.
Dry soil cracks, rain fills the cracks, basement floods. So foundation watering is actually a preventative measure for waterproofing.
It's highly symbiotic.
However, and this is a massive however, I feel like this is a topic rife with danger. A homeowner hears water to the foundation and grabs a high-pressure nozzle.
Oh yeah, please don't do that.
We really need to bust some myths here because doing this wrong seems so much worse than not doing it at all. Let's look at the silver bullet myth first.
Right. Myth number 1. The idea that foundation watering is a cure-all. Like, I have a crack in my basement wall, but if I water the grass, the crack will just magically close up.
Which is completely false.
It's a very dangerous mindset. Foundation watering is strictly preventative maintenance. If you already have a sheared footing or a bowing wall, adding water to the dirt is not going to hydraulically jack the house back into place.
In fact, if you have a structural crack and you start pumping water into the ground right next to it,
you are just feeding water directly into your basement living room. You're bypassing the soil entirely.
Which ties right into myth number 2, the more is better fallacy. I think it's human nature. If a little water is good, turning my yard into a swamp must be excellent.
For the love of structural engineering, do not create a swamp.
Why not? If shrinkage is the enemy, isn't maximum expansion the ultimate goal?
No, because soil has a load-bearing capacity. When soil turns to mud, when it passes its liquid limit, it loses the ability to hold any weight. It just turns into a slurry. If you turn the dirt around your footing into soup, the footing will just sink.
So you can literally cause settlement by overwatering.
Yes. And on the flip side, with those high plasticity clays we have around here, if you oversaturate them, they expand with massive force. We call this heaving.
Heaving. I've seen photos of this on our job sites. It looks like a giant fist punched the floor up from underneath.
That is exactly what's happening. The soil expands and lifts the structure unevenly. We've seen garage slabs snapped in half, door frames twisted so bad you can't close the doors.
Just a huge hump in the middle of the house.
Right. And then when that overwatered soil eventually dries out, the house drops back down. That up and down movement is devastating. Concrete is rigid. It hates movement.
So the goal is moist, not saturated.
Think of a sponge that you just squeezed out. It's damp to the touch, dark in color, but it's not dripping. That is the target.
Okay, let's move to myth 3, which is timing. There's a belief that you only do this in the dog days of summer. July, August, heat waves. Then September hits and you pack up the hose.
That is very risky. The soil doesn't look at a calendar. It reacts to humidity, precipitation, wind. We often get really dry autumns here.
Or even dry springs before the Mayflowers.
Exactly.
Right.
The enemy isn't heat. The enemy is fluctuation. We are trying to flatten the curve of the soil movement. If you water religiously in July and then stop cold turkey in August, you create a shock event.
The soil just dries out too fast.
It does. It pulls away violently. You need a tapering schedule. You have to monitor the ground until the frost sets in. Obviously, in winter, when the ground freezes, the moisture is locked, so you stop. But those shoulder seasons get people in trouble.
So it requires vigilance. You have to actually look at the dirt, not your weather app.
Yeah.
Which brings us to myth 4, the one-size-fits-all approach. My neighbor waters for 20 minutes, so I'll water for 20 minutes.
A recipe for disaster. Geology isn't uniform. You could have sandy loam on your property and dense clay right across the street.
Let's break down that soil nuance, because that's fact number 1 in our how-to section. Clay versus sand. How do we treat them differently?
Well, clay is high maintenance. It holds water well, but it resists absorbing it at first if it's bone dry. If you dump a bucket of water on dry clay, it just runs right off the surface.
Just pulls up and runs away.
Exactly. So for clay, you need a very slow, low-volume delivery. You have to allow capillary action to draw the moisture in deep.
And what about sand?
Sand is the total opposite. It drains instantly. It doesn't shrink much, but when it's dry, it loses cohesion. It gets loose. With sand, you aren't worried about heaving, you're worried about it turning into dust and shifting away. So you need more frequent, shorter watering sessions.
So step 1 for any homeowner is literally go big a hole.
Literally. Go out to your perimeter, dig down a few inches, and squeeze the dirt. Does it clump? That's clay. Does it fall apart? That's sand. That dictates your strategy.
Let's get into the mechanics of the how-tos. You said earlier, don't use a high-pressure nozzle. What are the tools of the trade?
First, stop guessing. Go to the hardware store and buy a cheap moisture meter. Stick it in the ground around your foundation.
Takes the emotion out of it.
Completely. If it reads dry, water it. If it reads moist, walk away.
I love that. Data-driven maintenance. And for the water delivery, the sources say absolutely no sprinklers.
Sprinklers are terrible for this. They spray water into the air, half evaporates, and the rest wets your siding. We don't want wet siding. You want a soaker hose or a drip irrigation system.
A soaker hose being that black porous rubber hose that sort of sweats water out.
Yes. It seeps out slowly along the whole length.
And placement is huge here. I would have assumed you just push it right up against the concrete wall.
No, never against the wall. You want it about 12 to 18 inches away from the foundation.
Wide gap.
We want the water to percolate down into the soil adjacent to the footing. We don't want to run water down the actual face of the concrete because if there's a micro crack, we're just forcing water inside. By putting it 18 inches out, we hydrate that active zone curtain without wetting the structure.
We are hydrating the curtain of soil, not the wall. That's a great visual. Run it on low pressure, no puddles.
If you see puddles, you've gone way too far. Turn it off.
This really requires a shift in mindset, from fixing problems to managing an ecosystem. But let's play devil's advocate. Someone listening right now is looking at a cracked brick, or their floor is sloping, and they're wondering, should I go buy a soaker hose today?
If you are already seeing physical distress, step cracks, sticking doors, baseboard gaps, do not just start watering. You need a professional assessment first. Fact number 4.
Because the cause might be entirely different.
It could be mature tree roots sucking the moisture out, a collapsed drain tile, a failed footing. Watering won't fix a broken footing. You need someone to check the load path.
And that is exactly where our team comes in. At IcyReno, we aren't just pouring concrete, we're doing diagnostics.
We offer tailored advice based on your specific property. We check the soil, the water table, the drainage. We separate fact from fiction for your exact address.
And if the damage is already done,
Then we fix it. Underpinning, waterproofing, structural repairs. We do the heavy lifting so you can just go back to enjoying your home.
So if you are in our service area, Toronto, Etobicoke, Scarborough, and you're seeing these signs, or you just want to know if your soil strategy is right, reach out to us.
Call us for a free consultation at 647-454-6600
I'll repeat that, 647-454-6600.
or find us online at IcyReno.
We're happy to come out. Always better to catch it early. Before we wrap up this milestone 50th deep dive, I want to leave everyone with a thought we were discussing before we hit record about how we view our homes.
Yeah, we tend to think of our houses as these static fortresses. Concrete, steel, brick, separate from nature. But the reality is the stability of that concrete box relies entirely on the dirt beneath it.
The house is basically a guest on the land.
It is. The soil is a living, breathing ecosystem that changes every single day. We spend so much time painting walls and cleaning gutters, but we ignore the dirt. So the provocative thought is this. Are you treating the soil, the actual foundation of your foundation, with as much care as the house itself?
Because if the soil fails, the house fails.
Exactly.
Respect the dirt. I love it. Thank you all for joining us for episode 50 of the Basement Integrity Podcast by IcyReno. Keep your basements dry, keep your soil moist, but not too moist, and we will catch you on the next deep dive.
Take care, everyone.